Salutations, crustaceans. I'm Lobster, and today we're going to be reviewing the M5 from Sire Guitars. Sire has been killing it with their 5 series line with the V5, the U5, as well as the upcoming P5 and D5. Those look really nice. And the M5 is no exception. I'm going to show you why. Let's do this. This is the Marcus Miller M5 from Sire Guitars, and this is one feature-packed bass. I purchased this bass directly from Sire at an artist discount, so thank you for that, Sire. This bass features an ash body, a gorgeous ash body, I mean look at that grain, combined with a 5-piece maple and mahogany neck and a 34-inch scale 24-fret ebony fretboard. This is a really nice neck with a 38mm nut width, basically a jazz or sound gear from Ibanez kind of profile. It's very thin but very playable. It's not the thinnest neck in the world where it feels flimsy, and the 5 pieces of wood here definitely ensure stability. Up at the headstock, which is okay in terms of styling. I think they could have done a better job here. But I think the embossed metallic font, which they've been using on the 5 series, really does a number on the aesthetics in a good way and definitely makes it look more premium. I think it's especially evident in the Sire V5 and the U5, which I think look really, really great. Any of the basses with the roasted maple necks as well, like the P10 with that metallic font, it's beautiful. However, with a bass like this, I wish they got a little more creative with the logo. That Sire S honestly should be more prevalent and bigger, and maybe the Marcus Miller M5 thing could be on the little truss rod cover. I just think the styling up there at the headstock is kind of okay. The tuners are Godot-style lightweight tuners, so you're not dealing with the vintage-style heavier tuners that you find on the V7, the P7, and the rest of the Sire lineup. The M series is using a lightweight tuner, so that's good. For pickups, we're using the Sire Pure H Revolution pickups, which I believe are the same type of pickups that you find on the M7. Oh, hi, BB. And the preamp is the preamp. It's the same Sire preamp that you literally see in everything. However, I have to say that in this M series here, as well as in the M7, you definitely get much more use out of it. This type of bass is the kind that you want to get a plethora of tones out of, where slapping this preamp on a jazz bass, in my opinion, is a little much. Just my opinion. I know some people disagree, and you're free to do so, but I think the Sire preamp is much more well-suited in a bass like this. Each pickup is also mated to a 3-way toggle switch to allow for single coil, parallel, and series modes to give you a plethora of tones. I actually have a separate video covering all 15, that's right, 15 different pickup combinations that you can have here, because otherwise this review would be like a million years long. So go ahead and check out that video that's linked in the description below, where we go over all the different pickup configurations. This time around though, we're going to focus more on the preamp and the bass as a whole and give it a rating. The bridge is also the most premium Sire bridge I've seen to date, and I believe they have this on the M7 as well. This is a nice high-mass bridge. Why they don't have this on the likes of the P10, I don't know. But this is an awesome bridge, and I wish they used this on more high-end applications. For the controls, we ditched the cheap plastic knobs that you find on the M2, and we actually have nice little aluminum knobs that are found on the M7 as well as the P10 and the V10. So this is a very premium looking bass. Now let's get to the price. The price of this instrument is $5.99 for the 4-string and $6.99 for the 5-string. This is a very well priced instrument sitting between the M2 and the M7. The M2 is, I believe, like $400 to $450 or so for the 4 and 5 strings. And this is about $200 more than the M2. And the M7 is around, I think, $160 or $180 more than this bass. And it is essentially the same instrument, but you get a few more aesthetic upgrades, like the flame maple top and different finish options as well. With the M5, you're limited to the natural finish as well as a blue burst or a transparent blue or something. Both are great looking finishes, but I prefer the natural. Now let's go ahead and turn this bass around real quick. Around back, you see the fairly large control cavity with 3 screws securing the cover. That's nice that there's not a million screws there, nothing like unscrewing and putting them back in a million times, because sometimes it gets a little tedious, especially if you're dealing with mods and stuff and want to test a few things. But that's nice, only 3 screws there. You also have the string ferrules to allow you to string through the body or the bridge. You have that option as well. And then you have the battery compartment over here. Just like the other Generation 2 and beyond Sires, this does not have a battery door. And getting access to the batteries is a real pain in the butt. I wish they had a just double battery door or something like that. It would definitely help a lot, especially with quick battery changes. I understand why they didn't, because you do have a tone control with the volume control and the blend control available to you with the preamp bypassed, and you don't need a battery for that. However, again, for quick battery swaps, for those who like to leverage the preamp, I wish we had a battery door. Moving on to the neck pocket, we can see that the neck is set in deeply, and we have 4 screws attaching the neck, so it looks like it's really on there. And then you can see this beautiful 5-piece neck. It's mahogany and maple. You know, the maple's on the outside and you have the mahogany stripes. And we can get a better look at the lightweight Goto style tuners that are at the headstock as well. Now, I know you guys are wondering, what does this bass sound like? You guys know what you need to do. Go ahead and hit that like button so my hand will turn back to normal. Thanks. So that was with the preamp bypassed, both pickups set in parallel, I believe. Again, I have a separate video going over all 15 different pickup combinations because there is a load of them here. We're not going to go over that today, however. We are just going to look at the preamp and just the space as a whole. So let's engage the preamp now and get started. We're going to start out with the neck pickup. These are nice sounding pickups. That was in series. Here's what single coil sounds like real quick. You do get a little bit of single coil hum because you don't have any hum canceling, but... And then here's parallel. We're going to go ahead and keep it in parallel for the majority of this review, but that was with the preamp centered. Let's go ahead and cut everything real quick. Here's what that sounds like. As I mentioned in the P10 review, this is a powerful 18-volt preamp, and cutting it kind of really sucks the life out of the instrument. No one's really going to cut everything in a realistic scenario, but I like to demonstrate what this preamp can do. Now let's go ahead and boost the bass control to about 50% boost and the treble to 50% boost, leaving the mids cut and the mid frequency control centered. Oh yeah, that's a nice and fat tone. Now let's go ahead and move the frequency selector down to its lowest point, which means we are going to be cutting the low mids. Here's what that sounds like. You kind of get a P-bassish character out of these pickups, especially with it wired in parallel, so that's pretty cool. Now let's go ahead and move the mid-frequency selector to the other side. So now we are cutting the high mids. Here's what that sounds like. Now let's go ahead and center the mid-frequency control and boost the mids to about 50%, bringing the treble control and the bass control down to center. Now let's go ahead and bring the frequency selector down. So we are going to be boosting the low mids. Now let's go ahead and boost the high mids by turning the frequency selector in the other direction. Okay, so let's go ahead and center the preamp now, and let's talk about this tone control real quick. Now, I've criticized the Sire tone control in the past, and I will continue to do so until they replace this tone capacitor with something a little bit more potent. I've replaced the Sire tone cap with, which is I believe a 0.022 microfarad, the same spec that I believe they used in like a 60s or 70s jazz bass. I believe there was a few years or a bunch of years that they used that. However, a more modern, I guess 0.043 or even a 0.1, which is what I like to use, would be much more appropriate in a bass like this. I am going to do the mod to this bass as well. I don't think that really needs a video because I already did it to my P10. It's the same process as it is the same preamp, and you can do it to any Sire. However, do it at your own risk because that may void your warranty, especially if you mess something up. So keep that in mind whenever you're modding the electronics or the stock electronics and not just replacing something where you can return it back to stock easily. That being said, I just centered the preamp. Let's go ahead and let me show you the tone control. Here's the tone control at 100%. Here's the tone control all the way down. Yeah, that doesn't really do anything, especially what you want a tone control to do. So again, you can replace that tone cap or even augment the existing tone cap by soldering an existing tone capacitor to the back of the PCB without removing the stock one. You'll see the contact points. Again, if you're handy and know what you're doing, this stuff is pretty easy, and it definitely improves the character of the instrument a lot. So take that for what you will. However, again, you will void your warranty. On to the bridge pickup. So here is the bridge pickup with the preamp centered, and the pickup is in parallel. I'm just going to quickly go over the 3 pickup configurations real quick. That was parallel. Here's single coil. Get a little bit of hum. And series. Yeah, so you definitely get a lot of kick out of series. However, we're going to keep things in parallel just so you get the most definition out of the pickups. In my opinion, I think that's where you get it without getting the single coil hum. You have loads of options, and again, I have a video going over all 15 configurations that you have on the pickup with side-by-side clips, so you can hear the differences for yourself. Now let's cut the mids and boost the bass and the treble to about 50%. Here's what that sounds like with the mid-frequency selector centered. Very nice, very nice. Now I'm going to move the mid-frequency selector down, so we're going to be cutting the low mids and just leaving the high mids. mid-frequency selector to the other end. And we're going to be cutting the high mids and just leaving the low mids for meat. Now let's go ahead and center that, and center the bass control and the treble control, and bring the mids up to about 50%. And let's bring the mid selector down, so we're just going to be boosting the lower mids. And let's turn that around. And we're only going to be boosting the high mids now. Very nice, very nice. Now let's go ahead and bring the neck pickup back into the mix and have both pickups together. Here's what that sounds like with the preamp centered. Now, keeping the preamp centered, I'm just going to go through the 3 pickup configurations. Yes, you can have each pickup configured series, parallel, or single coil with both engaged, so you have a total of 9 configurations with both pickups together. I'm just going to show you both in series, both in parallel, and both in single coil. Here's parallel first. Here's single coil. Very nice. So in single coil mode, you're actually engaging the outer bank of magnets on each pickup to get an almost jazz bass type of configuration, which is really cool. And then here is both pickups in series. And back to parallel, you can see that series definitely gives you a lot more kick and is a very different tone. So again, loads of flexibility here. This is an awesome instrument. Now let's cut the mids and boost the bass and the treble to about 50%. Now let's go ahead and bring the mid-frequency selector down. So we're going to be cutting the low mids, only leaving the high mids. And let's bring that around. So now we are cutting the high mids, leaving the low mids. Now let's boost the mids to about 50% and bring the bass and treble down to center, and let's center the mid-frequency selector as well. Here's what that sounds like. Now let's bring the mid-frequency selector down, so we're just boosting the lower mids. And let's turn that around. And let's bring the mid-frequency selector down, so we're just boosting the lower mids. And let's turn that around. And let's bring the mid-frequency selector down, so we're just boosting the lower mids. And let's turn that around. And let's bring the mid-frequency selector down, so we're just boosting the lower mids. And let's turn that around. So now we're boosting the high mids. Now let's center the preamp and slap it. Here's both pickups in parallel. Now here's both pickups in single coil. And here's series. Very nice, very nice. Back to parallel, and let's go ahead and throw some drums behind this bass. So here are my final thoughts about the Sire M5. Honestly, out of the entire Sire lineup, I think that the M series is the most well equipped, especially the higher end M series. I think the M5 has excellent pickup controls, and the preamp is best applied in a bass like this, in my opinion. The tone control is still lackluster in this application as it is in all the other Sire applications. I really wish that they would do something about that, and I wish they would move to a battery door where you could easily swap both batteries versus having to remove a little cover. That cover is a big pain in the butt, and I think other people can probably attest to that as well. Especially the first time around, it almost creates a vacuum inside that battery compartment, which makes it very difficult to remove. Outside of that though, the neck is awesome with the rolled fretboard edges, just like any other Sire V2 bass and beyond. So that's not a unique feature here, but again, it is welcomed and always nice to play. The neck is very easy to navigate. The body is very comfortable and the bass overall is well balanced. The controls spread out a bit, make more sense visually, in my opinion, and the pickups sound great in all three modes, series, parallel, and single coil. The bridge is an excellent bridge, probably the best bridge that I've seen in any Sire that we've reviewed thus far. It's high mass, it looks good, it functions very well, and I think it works nicely in this bass and makes this bass an excellent value. So what am I going to rate the Sire M5? I'm going to rate this bass 4 claws out of 5. This is an excellent value at $5.99 for the 4-string and $6.99 for the 5-string. It packs in a ton of features, high-end electronics which are normally found in the M7, a high-mass bridge that you don't find in any of the V or P models, well balanced, it has lightweight tuners, 24 frets, an ebony fretboard. I mean, this thing is loaded. And you have this beautiful ash body with this gorgeous grain. Now, usually there's a premium for the ash sires. If you look at the V7 or P7, there's about a $100 premium, which brings the price tag up quite a bit. However, with the Sire M5, this is $5.99. I think this is the cheapest bass that has a gorgeous ash body. Other than that, though, I think this is an excellent value. It's an excellent bass, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone who's looking for a modern styled instrument that can get some vintage tones as well. Well, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, everyone. Be sure to like, subscribe, join our Discord, and leave a comment down below and let me know what you think about the Sire M5. And as always, until we groove again.